All right, I'm gonna get in here and see what I've got to work with today. I untaped it yesterday, and just to kind of make sure none of my tape bridges too much. It's been taped up for a while, and I've cleared it numerous times. So after you've had it taped up a certain kind of way and you've cleared it, you know, I guess I got 6 coats of clear on there, numerous coats of paint, you start to think, okay, I better get this tape off here so it doesn't bridge. And I have it taped off so tight, so sharp, to where I can feel the little paint edges on the, you know, where I have it taped, but they're all framed in the box perfectly. So it almost just looks like, you know, part of the body of the cabinet. So it's not an issue, but I do want to round that off when I sand it for this final pass of clear. So that's my goal, right? I'm going to sand it, get it ready, tape it off, put the final clear on it. So basically I usually use 60-40 ratio on my classic builds. And then if I'm trying to do something a little bit better, a little bit custom, 70-30. So we'll get it sanded down, we'll make any corrections, we'll tape it off to where we're not painting the inside or clearing the inside again. And that's really important because you can get a lot of debris swirling out the inside, like when you reach down in there to blow the air in there as you spray it. It almost always loosens something up that you would have never saw on the inside. Now it's landed and it's on the outside, so you don't want that. Another thing to consider too is you don't want to have to worry about dragging the hose across the outside, or your paint suit dragging across the finish when you're trying to get in there. So you just don't need to, you need to, like, basically that's what I call trim out work. It's been trimmed out, it's good, it's done. Focus only on the outside. So anyway, in case you're curious, there's that. And if you're not, then you at least know that, right? So let's do it. Okay, I think I'm finally ready to put the final clear on here. I hope. This thing's been a challenge. Well, a lot of it's just me. I like to catch all the fine details. I'll get to a certain point and I'll look at it and be like, damn, I should have did this or that, so then I do this or that. All right, I'm gonna go 60-40 on this, so 60% gloss, 40% matte clear, and I've done them in 70-30, and they always turn out a little bit shinier than I want. I don't want this thing to be really glossy. I know a lot of times people think that, you know, the glossier something is, the better, but really it can be a detraction. And I may put chrome trim on this thing, and if I do that, then the dynamic between the two sheens will be a lot more substantial. All right, here we go. 40 of this. So I'll just take this up to the folder. Take this up to the 10. I have to do some math real quick. Let's see. We've got 500 milliliters of clear, so we're going to need 125 milliliters of hardener. Running out everything, man. This thing's killing my materials, and when it's killing my materials, it's killing me. All right, 125 milliliters of hardener. Put everything in. Stir it up. Just a little bit of fisheye killer, you never know. This time of the year in particular, a lot more contaminants floating around the air when it starts getting a little bit more. A little bit of fisheye killer there. If you have the fisheye killer in there, you're better off than if you don't have it in there. If you don't have it in there, then you've got fish eyes and you try to put it in there and get rid of them. But if you put it in there, then if you were going to have them, you won't. Very smart. I like the way you think. All right, here we go. I let this thing dry overnight. I can get in here close and go over it with you and tell you about everything. And then we're gonna call this good. I'll build the game. I'll show you when it's finished, but I'm not gonna cover anything else about it from this point until then. So I changed the dark blue chiseling of the letters because that dark blue that I had used, it was too drab. It was not popping out of that black well enough like I wanted it to. It just was melting into the background. It might as well have been black. And so that meant I needed to lighten it up. And initially I was trying to make sure it was a darker blue than that background blue, this one that swirls out throughout the entire cabinet. But at the end of the day, the black separation makes that good enough to where I don't have to be too dark. So then I brought that up a notch. I'll show you that in detail. And so that little change doesn't seem like much, but that helps bring it all together, gives the letters a little bit more pop, and it keeps everything in that same blue family. Everybody's related that way. And so did that. The next thing I did, I thought about doing this before, and I kept kind of talking myself out of it because I know how much work it was going to be, but I cut out all those total chaos letters and shaded them. And the reason I would want to shade them is because the letters looked a little bit plain, you know, compared to everything else. And they're kind of in motion. You can see the way they're slanted. So by shading them, it just adds to that motion. And also another thing I really like about when I do fade things and shade them is that it gives it a little bit more of a factory look. Kind of makes it look screen printed. It starts looking like something that the factory made instead of something that, you know, some guy in his, you know, his little paint room made. So that's an important detail. And that's a really hard thing to pull off. That's not an easy thing to pull off. It's not just doing it right here, like, okay, I cut these letters out and I shaded them. No, I got to do it all the way around. It's got to match up all the way around. I got to shade it exactly the same way on both sides and the front, and that's not easy. That's not easy, and that's all I can tell you is it's not easy, but we'll take a good look at it. All right, real subtle detail there, but it works. It just, like I said, it makes it look more polished, more finished, more factory-like. Okay, so there's where we're at. That's it. So we've got a nice 60-40 gloss level on it. That's my favorite finish. What I really like about the 60-40 split is that it gives you a better gloss than like an eggshell, but it's not overly glossy. If you watch my reflection in the background, you know, I kind of look like a ghost floating around behind here instead of like when you see something's full reflection in the mirror, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not as stark as a full gloss would give you, like that mirror-like reflection, but it does give you a reflection. And it's a much more subdued reflection. All right, so that's pretty much it for the lower and the head. Really nothing to talk about. I didn't make any changes. I was really happy with the head. I tightened up a border or two, but that was about it. I painted the face a lighter shade of blue, and I just need to screen print the back of it. I'll probably use yellow ink for that. And we're done. We're done with this until it is time to show it finished. I got some more choices to make. I got a lot of little bits and pieces to iron out, but as far as the cabinet goes, I'm done with that, and I feel like that's so much work by itself. That's good enough to cover here for that aspect of it, and then I'll just show the finished game when it's all done.